We are currently actively robbing Mike Shea of his brain, his genius. This is the latest from Sly Flourish's offerings of the Lazy DM series. And then we now have the Lazy DM's Companion, which literally came out yesterday. This was a Kickstarter product, $10. We're going to see if we're going to get our money's worth. And knowing Mike's previous offerings, I have no doubt this is going to be good. But let's take a look. The art, first of all, is pretty cool. I like this. The evil chair, the potion. I don't know what this... is this Illithid Tentacles? I'm not sure what's going on here. All right, let's keep going. Guidelines and inspiration to help you run awesome 5th edition fantasy role-playing games. Michael E. Shea. Thank you to 10,140 Kickstarter backers. I'm one of them. I like Mike's stuff. I will support the community as best I can. Introduction. There we go. Let's look at the table content. That's the money shot right here. Let's see what he's got. Tools for improvisation. Quick tricks for lazy DMs. Core adventure generator. We're going to roll on this. Building an RPG group. Safety tools. Session 0 checklist. He's covering a lot of topics in this. And they don't need... What I like to see already is they're not 1,000 pages long. Literally 1 pages each. That's pretty cool. Teaching new players. Options for first level play. Strong starts. So this is stuff out of his Notion template that he already does. Quest templates, secrets and clues. That's fine. NPC generator. We'll look at these. Understanding exploration. This book is the third in line of the Lazy DM series, alongside the Return of the Lazy DM and the Lazy DM's Workbook. As with each of those books, you don't need to read the entire series to find value in this book. Each title stands alone, but also works together with the others to help you run great fantasy RPGs. Mike is right. His other books do exactly that. Return of the Lazy DM offers an 8-step framework for preparing your game, along with deeper dives into setting up, running, and thinking about the game. The Lazy DM's Workbook sits beside you at your table when you're running the game, offering references. This one is designed to work with you while you're preparing your game, offering guidelines and inspiration to make running games easier and help you build fantastic adventures and campaigns. All right, let's go into tools for improvisation. The following tools can help you improvise during your games. Keep a copy of this section handy, paste notes in your favorite DM's book, or memorize the key mechanics. Difficulty checks. For any given task or challenge, ask yourself how hard this is to accomplish, then assign a DC from 10 easy to very hard. If the task is trivial, don't bother asking for a roll. Rather, the characters automatically succeed. Likewise, reserve DCs above 20 for superhuman challenges. Okay, we do that. Improvise damage. Decide on challenge rating for the source of the damage from CR1 to CR20. Then roll a number of damage dice of a particular kind as follows. Single target damage 7 times the CR. Oh, if you're not rolling. Right, so 7 damage. So if a level 1 creature will do 7 points of damage. Or 2d6 per challenge rating. So CR... Geez, that scales up pretty quick. CR5 creature does 10d6 per... That's a lot of damage. He might be right, though. I'll have to look at the math. Multiple target damage 3 times the CR. So this is meant to be like an AoE spell. So CR5, 15... Yeah, I think that kind of works. But let's look at running hordes. When running a large number of creatures, instead of rolling independent attack rolls or saving throws, assume that 1/4 of the rolls succeed. I agree. I do that. When you kill things that way, like when you have a large amount of monsters, they hit back. You know, this kind of harkens back to the 4th edition rule. I put on a lot of minions in my hordes, so when players deal damage with like a fireball, they'll notice like 5 of them or 6 of the minions are instantly dead. And then it feels like they're doing something. It feels good for them to not waste their spells. They threw, magic missile. Each magic missile takes out a goblin, whatever. And the same is true when the horde attacks. I can roll some dice, but typically I'll be like, okay, you take like 8 points of damage or something. It's easier that way. I want to see the adventure generator. Here we go. There we go. Chat, roll a d20 for me, please.
A few moments later.
The superior ghost hands you a bracelet that they want you to go within, what was it? A temple, I think we said? Shoot, I forget. A sanctum. Within the heart of the sanctum, there's an Ori representing this the star system where you find yourself located. And if you place that bracelet, actually the bracelet acts as a ring, like Saturn's rock ring, around one of the planets represented there. And it unlocks a secret. And once you do that, boom, inside the sanctum, there is a book that has the secret to the spell True Resurrection, and the ghost wants to be resurrected. We just created... Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Sly Flourish. That worked out really well. That worked out really well. The real key of all this, the locations, monuments, items are kind of cool, but the quest is kind of the heart of it, right? So let's take a look at what's in the quest log. Find an item, kill a villain, rescue an NPC, uncover a secret, clear out monsters, protect a monument, protect an NPC, steal an item, return an item, close a gate, open a gate, activate a monument, disable an artifact, recover an item, convince an NPC, awaken a monster, put a monster to sleep, bury a secret, discover a monument, or dig up an artifact. I don't need to have anything ready. Be like, you guys want to go see the bounty board? Let me just quickly generate a couple adventures. You have to go bury a secret, you have to go close a gate, and you have to go dig up an artifact. Those are the 3 jobs. What other what other generator would want to look? Oh, look, there's more. Chat, there's more. Use this table when need to define the purpose of a chamber in a dungeon, keep or similar site. Reflavor any chamber to suit the theme of the adventure. I could have used this yesterday when I was making that one-shot for Adam. This chamber that we find ourselves is a bed chamber. Okay. And in this chamber, we find a well-stocked armory. Why would there be an armory in the bed chamber? Because it's a mimic that lives here. It's not a real bed. It's just a bunch of mimics in this chamber. The dungeon monsters that live here. Absence says 9. A bunch of shadows. Cool. This dungeon sounds kind of creepy. Are there any traps? Are there any traps, chat? 15. Barbed spears. And then for treasure, what is in this dungeon that we just somehow found in here? The bed shadows. Yes. Name of a new band. 4. A rune scribed gem with the spell 3. Shield on it. Let's see what Mike says about exploration. Failing forward, that's a big thing. Progress log. Hey, look at this. Mike and me. Mike and I. Me and Mike. See, I'm not the only one who really likes progress clocks. Our fantasy RPG includes 3 pillars of play. Role-playing, combat, and exploration. While role-playing and combat are relatively well understood, exploration consists of essentially everything else in the game. It's like he reads my mind. The fundamental process of exploration consists of the DM describing the situation, the player describing their intended action, and the DM educating the result. So types of exploration. There's a lot of stuff that you can do. Improvising ability checks. Yes. Complex situation. Often situations are complex enough that a single ability check can't capture the entire event. In such cases, let's each part of the scenario break down into chosen actions. For example, breaking into a protected vault likely requires staying quiet, disarming any arcane protections, and then picking the lock. So, follow those steps. Being able to improvise results that fail forward is critical for more complex situations. A single failed check shouldn't result in disaster. Instead, a failed roll should complicate the situation or bring in new challenges for the characters. This is an important skill for DMs and one that will get all the better the more we do it. Yes. Progress clocks. We talked about this yesterday, but these are great. The use of progress clocks is a way to track complex situation. Consider how many successes it takes to accomplish a complex task or how many failures before true disaster strikes. And that's it. How many pieces of evidence do you need to find? And, you know, compare like how alert the guard is versus how many pieces of the scroll you need to find to progress. All right, I'm curious what he says about overland travel and wilderness exploration. Overland travel and wilderness exploration can be handled in many different ways, and you and your group will ultimately choose the approach that brings you the most enjoyment. Some groups prefer pure narration. Others like a shared group storytelling in which the players describe the events of the journey. Some groups like the more mechanical approach of a detailed hex scroll, with each stage of the journey possibly playing out like a short adventure. Point crawls offer a similar approach and are described on the next page. Okay, let's see what he has to say about it. Point crawls give GMs a simple tool to map and run overland travel or city exploration. This style of play allows characters to travel across a wilderness or within a large city by focusing on notable locations and the routes between them. Some locations on a point crawl map might be large adventure areas, while others are simple landmarks used as a backdrop for a single scene or encounter. Either way, a point crawl map built from locations and routes often resembles a classic dungeon with its connected chambers and hallways. You can simply draw point crawls as circles connected with lines, each with a short label. For example, Lord of the Rings' 2 locations, the village of Bree and the ruined tower of Weathertop, are connected by the route through the Midgewater marshes. Porn crawls work best when they don't just make a straight line narrative route, rather they should offer meaningful choices as to where the characters can go, as well as chances for discovery en route. Okay, so meaningful paths, asymmetric design, loops that reconnect to known locations, shortcuts or to new or previous locations, secret paths to hidden areas. So he gives you locations, small locations maybe in between, and then routes in between. That's kind of cool. And then wilderness travel. Cool, alright. As characters travel overland, they undertake specific activities related to the journey. Select appropriate DCs for those activities, with checks usually being between easy and very hard. A default of 12 is usually a good choice. So here are some roles he offers as suggestions. Trail hand. Somebody who ensures you follow the right path. That's kind of cool. With a successful check, they stay on the correct path. On a failure, they might become lost, stumbling into hostile area, losing resources. Scout. Person who potentially checks out hostile encounters during the journey. This is very cool. I like this. Some good suggestions here. Quartermaster ensures remain well fed and hydrated during their journey. Provisions remain unspoiled. Shorter journeys may not require a character to take on this role. And you've got group stealth. Alright, these are 3 good roles to add to anything. Weather, potential encounters, and landmarks. Cool. I like this. Villains drive the story underlying so many of our adventures. They follow their own quests based on their own motivations, and when a villain acts, the world moves in response. Heralds often speak for villains before they appear, so the herald for this undead plague is a snobby valet. Ooh, yes. Quite. You're all going to die. That's how a snobby valet talks. It's very obnoxious. The villainous motivations. The villain's motivations. Somebody wrote another D20 for me, please. Villains make or break the campaign, right? To me, generally. The villain hopes to escape from somewhere. So the person behind this undead plague, the thing behind this undead plague who has a snobby valet for a herald, wants to escape. Where do they want to escape from? They've gone mad, and they want to escape Pandemonium. The howling winds in Pandemonium. Okay, cool. And their quest to do this, he has to build invincible armies. Okay. The invincible armies will tear a hole through the fabric of reality and let him out of Pandemonium. Okay, why not? Alright, that gave us our villain. The guidelines in this section replace the madness rules found in the game's core rules in the Lazy DM's workbook. The concept of madness has long been used to malign and marginalize complex psychological symptoms that the individuals coping with them. This new approach works with explicitly supernatural hindrances to break away from these stereotypes. So using stress effects. So you see a stressful situation, a ghoul devouring a body, something touching an unholy artifact. This is very Darkest Dungeon, which is fine. Staring into the tumultuous extents of limbo, falling to the depths of the astral plane, something that's going to generate a little bit of unhappy thoughts. And let's see what the stressful effect could be. Roll a I'll roll a d20. I'll do it in chat. Here we go. 8. Your heartbeat hammers in your ears. You determine how long the effect lasts, and you can add mechanical hindrances. On a failed save, the character becomes stunned for a minute. If the character's saving throw is successful, or if the effect ends for it, the character is immune to this effect for the next 24 hours. A character can also choose to break this effect at the start of their turn by taking 1d8 psychic damage. You lose control over your bodily functions. You feel as though all your bones begin to crack. Kind of cool. Some of these are really stressful and kind of yikes. Blood flows from your eyes. So let's see what long-term effects from stress could be. DMs and players can work together to determine whether stress effects can have longer-term ramifications. Any such long-term results should reflect not just the characters and the situation, but also the player's desires. Avoid terms such as madness or crazy. Consider instead the otherworldly nature of the situational effect and focus on how the character might respond. Special thanks to Dr. Megan Connell and Dr. Michael Mallon for their feedback on this guide. Awesome! There is so much more in this book. It took us an hour to look at like 6 pages, and there is so much more. I love this. Very good book. For $10, it's a steal. We are currently actively robbing Mike Shea of his brain, his genius. There are maps that come with this packet, by the way. There's some maps that come with this for free for you to use right here. Amazing. Put them in your VTTs and enjoy the content. Look at this. That's dope. So, Mike, I love the content. This Lazy DM's companion is absolutely worth it. better than the DMG. Again, his books are better than what's officially offered by Wizards of the Coast. So this is excellent. Mike, you've knocked it out of the park again. I highly recommend it. Here, the GM Workshop, we love this. YouTube, are you having a good time? If you are, maybe consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It helps out the channel. Also, we're live 5 days a week on twitch.tv/GM Workshop with a bunch of D&D nonsense.